Welcome in to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today I have my 5 takeaway series covering 5 Dynasty topics. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let's go. So the first topic, Terry McLaurin is officially holding out. McLaurin was placed on reserve, did not report list today. That means that he is officially a holdout from training camp. And, McLaurin has said, basically in no uncertain terms, he will not play in 2025 without a new contract. That's what he said. With that said, I think the deal gets done. I think McLaurin is a Commander in 2025 and beyond because the Commanders can afford it. They have Jaden Daniels on a rookie contract. I think if this were a different situation, it might be different. But I do think the deal gets done because they absolutely need him. Now, what do? There are other things you can do with other players, other things to look at, but we can focus on McLaurin for now. And that's going to be another thing is on these videos, we're not going to cover everything. There's just too many news stories today to cover everything, but we're going to cover the most important things. And then the Patreon will be where you can get all of the information. So I've discussed McLaurin as a sell literally all offseason. I did my first sell video on him in January. It's been talked about so many times, but we can go over it again. In 17 games, he had 82 catches, 1,096 yards, 13 touchdowns, 117 targets, 4.8 catches, and 64.5 yards a game. Again, I mean, the targets are not there. It's really the touchdowns that stand out. He didn't even earn more targets last year. He had 117 targets. This is his lowest mark since 2019. 23.3% target share, 34th among wide receivers, 22.7% target rate, 44th among wide receivers. Despite these numbers, he accounted for 13 of the team's 29 receiving touchdowns. So he had less than 25% of the targets, but like 40% of the touchdowns. That's not going to happen again. McLaurin's never had more than 7 touchdowns in any season before. There's nothing here that suggests that he's going to be a wide receiver 1 this year or moving into his 30s. I don't know why it would get better. I'd be using the contract window whenever McLaurin signs to get out because that'll give you one last chance to get out. And he's been such a fade for me all offseason. I get it. People are going to talk about the fantasy points, targets, and target share, target rate. These are the most predictable things. They're not there. So I'm pretty out on McLaurin, and I'd be selling once he signs the contract. Now, the next storyline, I mean, there have been so many things going on with the 49ers wide receiver room, but the big thing that came out recently was that John Lynch, the 49ers general manager, said they're nowhere near even knowing when Brandon Aiyuk might have a timeline to return. That doesn't sound good. They don't even know when they'll be able to predict when he comes back. So to translate that for you, Aiyuk is going to start the year on the PUP list. He'll miss the first 4 weeks. They'll reevaluate from there. Is he going to return week 5? No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think that's a lock. A lot of people see, oh, he was on the PUP. Okay, he'll miss 4 games to return. I don't think that we learned this last year with Jonathan Brooks. I don't think that Brandon Aiyuk is a lock to return in week 5. I think week 5 is the best case scenario. If I had to predict, I would say week 7 or 8, but we'll have to see. But I'm obviously out on Brandon Aiyuk. Then there's problems with rookie Pearsall. He's currently on the active pup list. So that's a different list. Just means he's not ready to practice right now with hamstring. I think he'll be activated very soon. So assuming that that's the case, I'm not too concerned about Ricky Pearsall. And then there's Jauan Jennings, who's at camp but wants a new contract. It's not going to be resolved by a trade. I don't know how they resolve this. I think they resolve this because Jennings is probably not going to hold out. I don't see how that's going to help in this case. And the 49ers, they need him really badly with all these other issues. So I think this gets resolved. I don't know if it is with adding incentives for this year. I don't know how they're going to resolve this, but I think they're going to resolve this in some way. So I would expect Jauan Jennings to be there as normal. And then Demarcus Robinson faces a possible suspension due to his DUI charge. I don't hear a lot of people talking about this, but Robinson may be suspended for a few games. So it's just another reason why they're short on wide receivers. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the numbers for Jennings or Pearsall. And you're going to see that now as we're going into regular season mode. We're getting there. We're going to talk more about what's happening now, less so than looking back to what happened in last season. We'll talk more about now. And when we're talking about now, I'm not buying that Pearsall's injury is super serious. I'm not buying that Jennings is going to miss games due to this contract situation. I'd be happy to have either one of them while their temporary issues sort themselves out. But Aiyuk's injury is serious, going to last a long time. I don't want him. But if there's a discount on Jennings or Pearsall, I'd take it. I'd be happy to take it and pay less than market price for those guys. So that would be something I'd look at if you don't have them on your team yet. Now, the next storyline, the Browns quarterback competition fully opens this week. The Browns have, of course, been in the news for all the wrong reasons. But because of that, we actually haven't been talking about their quarterback competition. We've been too busy talking about Quinshon Judkins. But they have a lot of competition. Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders are competing for the starting job. Right now, I think Flacco's the favorite. I think the odds of Pickett winning the job are much lower than they were a couple of months ago. Flacco's been treated as the presumptive starter the entire time. And if we look at who was better recently, it's Flacco. Even last year, 8 games, 6 starts, 65.3% completion, 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 7.1 yards per attempt. Is it what he did on the 2023 Browns where he averaged 7.9 yards per attempt and 323 passing yards a game? No. But he was still a borderline starter, even on the Colts. I think part of the problem with the Colts is that they had to change the entire offense to go from Flacco to Richardson and back and forth each week. That's not the case here. All of these quarterbacks are, not that they're similar, but there's no Anthony Richardson here. You don't have to change the entire offense from one quarterback to the next. And these 2024 numbers from Flacco are better than anything Pickett has ever done. Pickett has completed a career 62.4% of his passes and 6.3 yards per attempt, which is bad. Really, really bad. 6.5 is like backup level. 7 is around what we'd want from a starter. 6.3 is bad. So I think that Pickett was intended to be the temporary backup. And I don't think the Browns thought they would get both Dillon Gabriel and Sanders at values. I think maybe, the plan was to have Flacco, Pickett, and Gabriel and no Sanders. But it is what it is. So what do? I actually kind of like Dillon Gabriel. So I have seen that Gabriel has better odds at most sports books to be the week 1 Browns starter than Sanders does. Both are usually long shots. I saw Gabriel around plus 500, Sanders in the plus 800 range. So I don't know. I think that we have to kind of reevaluate this situation. The Browns are not going to cut Dillon Gabriel, right? They picked him in the 3rd round. And he's kind of getting a little quiet hype train. Again, you're not hearing about it because the Browns talking about other things. But quietly, I've heard that Dillon Gabriel is doing pretty well. And at the end of the day, Flacco is the starter, and that's what I think will happen. Gabriel's going to make the team. Sanders and Pickett are competing for 1 spot. They're not going to keep 4 quarterbacks for an extended period of time. They might keep them on the opening 53, but I don't think by week 1 they're all going to be there. So if I had to choose what I think happens, I think Pickett is cut or traded. Flacco's the starter. Gabriel's actually the quarterback 2, and Sanders starts out as quarterback 3. Of course, there's no doubt, and I discussed this during rookie season, Shedeur Sanders was a better collegiate quarterback than Dillon Gabriel. No doubt. The Browns may not agree with that assessment. Their draft capital says they didn't. And what I've been hearing lately, the sportsbook odds, what the Browns are doing, seems to think that they like Gabriel better. As for Pickett, we're going to start to see a market open up for a veteran backup. The Titans, they just lost Will Levis. Is Kenny Pickett better than Brandon Allen? Yes, he is. There are other teams where an injury could occur. I mean, Will Levis injury just occurred. Other injuries could occur to starters or backups, leaving room on a quarterback depth chart. At the end of the day, the Browns have 4 quarterbacks. They are not going to have 4 quarterbacks the whole year. So I think the most likely outcome, Pickett, cut or traded. The other 3 are on the roster. We start with Flacco. If it doesn't go well, I don't know. I think maybe Gabriel gets the first shot and not Sanders. And then if that doesn't go well, then maybe we see Sanders. I would predict we see all three play at least one game. But I'm kind of liking what's going on with Dillon Gabriel. So could be an under the radar stash. Now, if you like my YouTube content, you should sign up for the Patreon. I'm offering a 50% discount off your first month at all tiers using the code TylerYT50. You can get my rankings, access to the Discord, write-ups, Patreon-only videos, direct message fantasy advice, and the ability to ask in advance questions for the YouTube videos, which you'll see at the end of this video. Now, tiers begin at just $5 a month, $250 with that discount. If you want to know more about the Patreon, check out my why you should join the Patreon videos on the channel. They're on my channel's homepage under Patreon promos. Now, I offer this discount so you can try it at a discounted cost. I understand that the Patreon is a premium product. I will say, I got some signups after the last promo. I am covering the fantasy football, dynasty, everything in depth every single day. There is just too much going on, and there will be this way through the rest of the regular season. Too much going on to cover everything on the YouTube channel. 3 20-minute videos a week is not going to cover every dynasty topic possible. That's not going to happen. So if you want my full coverage, my take on everything, it's not going to come from more videos. It's very clear from the algorithm that 3 videos around 20 minutes each is the correct amount. That's very clear. It's also not going to come in the YouTube comments. I'm focused on the Patreon. I'm focused on the Patreon, responding to patrons. I had, I think, over 1,000 messages of some kind yesterday. It's a lot, but that just goes to show how much is being discussed in the Patreon overall. So again, patreon.com/fantasy advice. Click on the link in the top right corner. Use code TylerYT50 to get 50% off your first month. I promise you won't regret it. If you don't like it, it was 50% off. Stay for 1 month and leave. I get it. You tried it. I can't say anything about it because you gave it a try. But I would love to see more people try it. Most people stay and don't regret signing up. So I hear more often, I can't live without this. I don't know how I ever lived without this before. Rather than, well, I didn't like it. I regret signing up. So again, I would appreciate and love to see more Patreon signups. With that being said, I'll move into my next topic. So next topic, James Cook reported to training camp, but still wants a new deal. Cook decided to show up because he realizes he has no real leverage. And, it sucks. I would love to see him get paid. Obviously, I root for the players. But in this case, it's not going to happen. And it's not going to happen because of the nature of Cook's 2024. 16 games, 207 carries, 1,009 yards, 16 touchdowns, 4.9 yards a carry, and 32 catches, 258 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was great, but it all came from touchdowns. Problem is that he was not a high-volume running back, nor was he a dual threat running back, really. He actually averaged fewer carries, fewer yards, and fewer receptions per game in 2024 than he did in 2023. So it was all touchdowns. All of it came from touchdowns. And you have to think, is it really because James Cook is amazing at scoring touchdowns? Or is it that the Bills' offense is really good at scoring touchdowns? Which one of those is it? Is Cook really someone who's going to command 10 plus million a year on the open market as a running back? The answer is no. And it's also why I'm a little worried for fantasy. 16.7 fantasy points a game, 11th among running backs. And that's with every single touchdown going his way. He still wasn't a league winner. It's a tough spot to like. Now, it's hard to have Cook if you've been following my advice because I've never liked Cook because the volume is not there. And that always concerns me with a running back when it's based on efficiency and things like that. But my actionable thing to do with this is it has nothing to do with James Cook. We know that Cook's not going to hold out. This is not Terry McLaurin. Cook is on a rookie contract. He will not hold out. And after Le'Veon Bell and Melvin Gordon, no team is ever, never, ever, ever going to reward another holdout running back. That's not going to happen. He will not hold out. He will play. He has no choice. I don't know. I doubt he gets a new deal. He's playing whether he gets one or not. I'm telling you that right now. He can hold in and cause disruptions or whatever. And that might open up a window to sell Ray Davis, who has been wildly overvalued the entire time he's been in the NFL. He's only 2 months younger than Cook. Davis is not young. He turns 26 in November. It's not a young player. He is not going to overtake Cook in 2025. That's not going to happen. We're complaining about Cook's volume. You want the backup? I don't get that at all. So I have no interest in Ray Davis. None at all. There are people who think he's a future starter in the NFL. Never saw it as a prospect. I thought he was a bad prospect. Didn't see it in the NFL. He was fine. He had one game that was good, and then another one in week 18 where the backups were being played. So I don't get it. I would love to take a sell window on Ray Davis more than anything else. So something to consider if Cook continues to hold in or cause issues. Now, the last one, and this, I think for like redraft, is the most concerning thing on this list. This ankle injury, Joe Mixon, still has an ankle injury. He was placed on NFI with that ankle injury. NFI, it's the non-football injury list. It's a little bit of a misnomer. It just means that the injury did not take place at the Texans facility during a Texans activity. It took place somewhere else. Could have been when he was working out. Who knows when the injury took place? That's not super important right now. But either way, Mixon is not ready to practice. It doesn't sound like he's ready to practice soon. Adam Schefter as well. Hopefully, he'll be okay soon. That doesn't sound good. I don't like that. He was spotting on a walking boot earlier in the offseason. And what happened since the walking boot was on him, I might add? Obviously, I'm fading Mixon entirely. I've talked endlessly. We're not going to rehash. I'm not going to rehash everything bad about Joe Mixon's career. I feel like we've talked about this a zillion times. Mixon is bad in most years, and in his best years, he's average. Last year, his great year, he was average. He was an average running back who got a lot of touchdown luck and a lot of volume. The Texans signed Nick Chubb when they already knew about this injury. The Chubb signing didn't take place in March. It didn't take place in May. It took place recently. They knew about this injury when they signed Nick Chubb. They knew. We had already heard about the walking boot at that stage. Could this mean that the concerns about Mixon are severe? Would you sign Nick Chubb to just have him sit on the bench entirely? I doubt it. There had to have been some role for him. Now, I'm not saying to go buy Nick Chubb. I would sell Nick Chubb. If you could get a couple of thirds for Nick Chubb, I would do that. That's not the takeaway here. The takeaway is that I don't want Joe Mixon. I think in a year's time, Joe Mixon will have zero value. Zero. You see it all the time. Dalvin Cook very quickly went to zero. Was cut, signed with the Jets. Year later, zero value. I have no interest in Joe Mixon. Completely fade him in all formats. Zero interest. I think Mixon is done or close to it. So that's my takeaway from this news. I am very, very concerned, and I'm watching this very, very carefully. So do Patreon questions, and we'll wrap up. So do you ever use mainstream popular shows with bad dynasty info to your advantage when making moves for players? Oh, this is a wonderful question. Okay, so I do listen to a lot of fantasy football content. Mostly podcasts is how I consume content. A little bit of YouTube, but mostly podcasts. I listen to regular fantasy football and some dynasty shows. Not going to name any specific names. Obviously, I do listen to the fantasy footballers. I think that's the one name I'm willing to name. And to be honest, they're probably the best show that I listen to. With that said, yes. Do I do this? Yes. It's interesting to see players that are being touted a lot that I'm not in on. The one thing I think that comes up specifically is if I keep hearing some dynasty strategies, there are some dynasty strategies that are consistently said on dynasty podcasts that are less so than player takes, dynasty strategies that are just bad. One example, You can always trade for picks later. This is a very dumb thing that people say. Sure, you can trade for them later. They cost twice as much, but yeah, you can get them. Like, people say that, oh, well, I can always get my 2027 first back. No, you can't. You have to pay more for it later. That is such a stupid thing that people say. But, your average dynasty creator is not very smart. So, what really qualifies them to talk about dynasty? Nothing really. So, yeah. The answer to this question is yes. Most dynasty shows are bad. Yeah, it's not a good content landscape right now. But I will say, it's just fantasy football content landscape right now in general. It's bad. It's a lot of AI slop. Who being loud and wrong is better than being quiet and right. So, not a fan of the content medium at the moment at all. It's the reason you don't see me doing collabs. You don't see me doing a lot of guest spots. If there were a lot of shows I wanted to guest spot on, I would do it. But there aren't. That's just my take on that. What player do you differ on consensus the most? And can you explain your thought process? Okay. So there's a few of these. Bo Nix, I am just not 100% convinced from Bo Nix's not good for real life rookie year that scored fantasy points that Bo Nix is 100% guaranteed. Not a great prospect. I was in on him pre-draft for the fantasy upside and he was going so late. But now people are a little bit over their skis on him. So that's definitely one. Player that I'm higher on, Jordan Mason. I mean, I think that Jordan Mason could be the starter in Minnesota week 1, and we're just wrong. Jordan Mason could be the starter. He gets more of the work entirely than Aaron Jones. The rankings are all wrong. I think that's absolutely in the range of outcomes. So that's one. That's definitely a player that I'm higher on. Other than that, though, I mean, I don't have too many like wildly different from consensus ranks. But those are definitely a couple. I mean, my rank of Terry McLaurin being so low, like I covered earlier, I had my reasons for that. Obviously, the target shares. I think I'm pretty low on him compared to consensus. And then I'm just totally out on DJ Moore. DJ Moore, the bad attitude, bad last year, 28 years old, lots of other weapons being brought in. I just think the downside risk at DJ Moore's consensus value is all of it, and the upside is nothing. So I DJ Moore just doesn't compute to me. His value is wrong. So compared to his value, I'm 100% out. I think that's a few. If you like the video, make sure to support the channel by subscribing. Really want to hit that 4,000 subscriber mark. I'm like 37-ish away. So something like that. But please subscribe to the channel. I want to hit 4,000 very soon. And don't forget to hit that notifications bell. Although my content does usually come out Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, it's available on the Patreon. Dynasty and other fantasy football content year-round. 50% discount at all tiers using code TylerYT50. You can sign up in the top right corner at patreon.com/fantasy advice. Every sign up helps support my independent content, and it gives you the up-to-the-minute advice that will only take place on the Patreon. On the YouTube, I'm going to stick to that Monday, Wednesday, Friday recording schedule no matter what. So even if there's really big breaking news, it'll be covered on the Patreon and then on the YouTube on the recording schedule. But once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.